Okay, so, honest confessions. I started this video once, but I really didn't like the way it was turning out, so I'm just going to start over. And basically, this is the Ironhawk Mercenaries. They're basically a private military organization, and they're pretty much corporate sellouts. They work for the wealthy, big business, and they'll take money, but they also like resources, and they also like technology, and they're not necessarily bad people. They're not like pillaging and causing trouble, but they're not necessarily good guys either. They're like I said, they're usually working for the highest bidder, and they're one of the closer factions in my little like army zeitgeist that could be considered bad guys, but more or less just because of who they work for, which is capitalism, but the bad kind of capitalism, the kind of capitalism that that really likes efficiency and doesn't like people causing breaking that efficiency. The sword, the peeps. But most of them are ex-soldiers or people who were hard on their luck and didn't like their situation, and kind of just ended up working together in this less than honorable but still respectable group of individuals. And there's quite a few of them, because this is probably my biggest army. Well, next to my Human Defense Force Guard army, which is even bigger than this, which is scary to think about. But more importantly, or well, maybe not more importantly, but important to me, this is the first army I can actually say that is complete. As in, all together, built, painted, based. The only thing left that I would do to this army is to paint the rims. And I haven't decided what color I'm going to paint them yet. And I could always add other stuff, which is a thing I want to talk about very briefly about. When is an army finished? Like, when are you done with an army? Like, is it done when you get everything painted up and you can put the points into a calculator and say, oh, hey, this is the perfect points? Or is it when you feel satisfied with it? Or is it ever really finished and, it's more open-ended and you say, well, if I want to add something later, I can. And that's where I am with it. Because there are some things I could add to this army. I'd like to get some more vehicles and maybe a big stompy robot. But in terms of where I wanted the army to be, we're there. And now anything I do is just icing on the cake, and I love that. I'm so happy. I love the way they turned out. I'll go over briefly the models and where I got them from, and then some lore stuff, because there's so many menus in here. Not all of them have names, but they all have identities in my mind. Most of them do anyway. But let's start with these. These are from Etsy, from a print shop. I don't know. I think Papsky, I think is the name of the person who made them. But they're just these really, really cool, like, robot suits. I think they're based off Appleseed, which is an anime that came out many years ago, or something similar. I think they're called, I forget what they're called, Land something. Anyway, but original versions of those designs anyway. They don't have names yet. In my head, I call them the Ninja Turtles because of the colors, even though this one is pink instead of purple. But anyway, I imagine that and all these other ones, the big three, they're based on like the same design, whereas this one is a little more sleek. And I imagine that the reason for that is that these three are early versions, the red, blue, and yellow one, and that this one is based more on captured like Eldar or high elf technology, and that's why it looks a little different and has different swords. But these are like the walkers. They're big stomp. They're not huge stompy robots, but they're still big stompy, like robot suits. And these over here, the big bulk of this army is made up of Eisenkarn stormtroopers and Panzerjäger, which are from War Games Atlantic from their Iron Core series. And I have way too many of them. I actually had more than I intended because my original plan was to only have 40 minis. But I accidentally bought an extra box and ended up with like 60 of them, I think. Something like that. I actually lost count. But that's what the biggest part of this army are. Plus some kit bashes using the bodies, which I'll get into like for more of the characters. And these guys over here are actually a little bit of those Eisenkarn, because I had spare legs somehow. I don't know how I had spare legs, but I did. So I took some bits from Anvil Industries and from Space Marines and just wherever like bits I had, and I ended up making 5 like super elites, I guess you would call them. I don't know. This one's gun is really funky because it's a Space Marine gun that I cut in half and then glued together. But I like his Geordie visor. I think I intended to paint that blue at some point, but I don't think I ever did. I might do that in a minute. I may leave it alone. I don't know. We'll see. There's a cowboy because I need a cowboy on almost all my armies if I can figure it out. Back here, these are also. I got these from a print shop on Etsy, but I don't remember the printer. But I think they're supposed to be Space Marine alts, but because of their size, and they're big. They're big boys. Like they're tall. But I found them when I was looking for like Ogren alts, and I'm like, you know what? These guys can be ogres. These guys can be big Ogren fellas, because they never get to wear power armor. So in this army, they get power armor, and that was an establishing factor of this army, is that even though they're all mercenary scumbags, they're all equally mercenary scumbags. I like the idea that the biggest redeeming quality of these bunch of like, we're only in it for the cash and for our paycheck, is that they're also unified. That they also are all coming from the same place. That they treat each other equally. Other than their ranks, it doesn't matter what your lineage is or your ideology, as long as you do your job and take orders from the hierarchy up here, which we'll get to in a minute, that you get treated the same. And I love the idea of that being their kind of status quo. I'm also over almost on 8 minutes and I've barely talked about anything. But like I said, these are the super elites. And this is like, these are the 5 main like leaders of this. Well, I should say 3 leaders. It's a little complicated, but this is Gregor Stark. He's a super cyborg. He's a combination of Clint Eastwood and Dolph Lundgren. He's not a nice person, but he's not a mean person. He's just very, very serious. He's very committed to his work. And he's also kind of the leader of this whole thing. He's not the owner of the Iron Hawks. He's just the person that was hired to be the leader of their military forces. And he's a legendary mercenary. He's really good at what he does. He's been cyborged out pretty heavily. I want to say he's about 70% cyborg. Maybe not that much. But what isn't cyborged has been juiced on gene modifications. So he is just a super badass. He can fight on par with Battle Brothers, which are Space Marines. He's a cool guy. I like the way his sword turned out. I could probably do some more stuff to the sword, but for now I'm pretty happy with it. I try to go for like a red glowy blade instead of like a traditional energy sword, which is what most of these guys use in place of normal energy swords, with some exceptions. And this is Azra, who has a connection to some of the gangers that were in my last video. I think it was my last video, maybe the video before that. It was the video before that. Because she was born on a Hive City world, and she was able to scrap her way out, join up with the Iron Hawks, and now she's got 4 robot arms, space katanas, and she's living her best life. She's very, very happy. And this over here, this is I had a cool name for him, but I can't remember what it was. Like Dr. Lemur or something like that. Not lemur. It was some kind of cool primate or a cat. I forget. But he's basically what would happen if Dr. Wily and Revolver Ocelot were the same person. He's got both those aspects. He's the main scientist. He's got a cool cyber arm. He's got some kind of piece of technology, but he's out here doing his mad scientist thing, plotting, scheming, being a problem. And this lady over here doesn't have a name yet, but she's an elf. She's an Eldari, or high elf, more specifically a Drukari or a dark elf, but without the obsessive compulsive has to feel sensation things all the time. She's mostly here because of her psionic capabilities. She's a very talented psyker. She's also been cyborged out quite a bit. She's very tall. She's very tall. But she's part of the command structure to some degree. More for her skills as a psyker and for a probably tactical capabilities. She's around. And this little lady over here, I think I was going to name her Hime, but I don't remember for sure. But she is a natural-born human psychic, and that made her life very, very miserable where she came from, because she couldn't completely control her powers, and psychics from where she came from were not well treated. But then the Ironhawks found her, realized what she could do, and decided to bring her on board. And for them, it was just a business aspect for, the company side of things. Probably the people who found her and brought her on board were like, this poor kid. But now she's an adult. She has a special suit that helps her to control her psionic abilities. And for her, this is the closest to family she's ever had. This is like her own parents abandoned her as soon as they found out she was a psychic. So for them, for her, this is her family. Weird and decrepit and bunch of psychos that they are, she's probably, at least, if they've ever done one good thing, this band of bloodthirsty mercenaries, well, maybe not bloodthirsty, but of like cold-hearted mercenaries, it was giving this girl a home. That's their redeeming quality, I guess. Then their equality thoughts. But other than that, we've got the special weapons squad, the orange squad. One of the two special weapon squads. These are the more practical special weapons. They also probably are engineers. They get around. They build stuff. I like their fish man captain. He's cool. A lot of these heads are from Stargrave minis. Stargrave are so good for kit bashing. If you've never gotten any Stargrave minis, get one sprue. There's a guy named Sprue Dude on eBay. He sells the sprues relatively cheap, like single sprues. Just getting one of them and you'll be addicted, because you get so many extra heads, so many extra bits. It's great. These are the yellow squad. They're the special weapon squad in terms of like plasma. These two squads, as you can imagine, work well together. But whereas these guys are engineers, these ones are more sciencey. They're more techie, which I don't know if that really is very clear with their gear. But yeah, and I like this crocodile guy. It's a cool dude. Well, he's more of a lizard dude. Over here are the blue squad. They're the rank and file. They're the general grunts. They're the ones that are usually the first on the battlefield and the last to go home. But they're okay with that. They're good with that. I like this elven lady that I kit bashed together using some Frostgrave bits and some other bits. Frostgrave and like Stargrave, I think. That actually might be a resin head I got off the Etsy too. No, wait, that's one of the Stargrave heads, I'm pretty sure. Not coming in very clear, but. And then there's this lady over here who is she's got a cool cyber eye. She's standing on her helmet. Why she shoved her helmet into the dirt, I don't know. It just happened that way. Maybe she dropped it. I don't know. Another cool lizard lady. And then there's this one. This one's a funny little story. I'm coming up on 15 minutes. I don't know how much memory I have, so I better hurry. But I accidentally started painting this one blue when she was supposed to be with the yellow squad. So in my mind, she is a she goes back and forth between these two. She's technically part of the yellow squad, but whenever the blue squad needs a special weapons person, they bring that she'll go over there. Or she was a transfer and just hasn't gotten her new armor yet. Like, she just got from the blue squad into the yellow squad, and they just haven't gotten her the proper armor yet, so she's still in her blue armor with a spare helmet and gun. So make of that what you will. And then we got the purple squad back here, which are the heavy weapons team. Do you need something to blow up? We got the blow up. We got the explosions. We got the big ass walker tank, which is, I dropped it. I dropped it, and these guys over here, these walkers, their legs broke off. This one lost their gun, but I managed to glue everything back together, and you can't even tell anymore, which is great. I'm so happy. Thank you, Jesus. Because I thought they were lost forever, and then I just calmed down. I glued everything back together. Everything went on like a boss. I'm so happy that they didn't die. But this one's gun was so damaged that I just decided to replace it with a spare plasma gun I had from another set, and it's sideways, but I think it still looks all right. I think it's got a good silhouette. But it's an AI controlled walker tank. I don't know if it's AI controlled. It may be remote controlled. I don't know. But it's the, like, it was originally supposed to be the centerpiece of this army, the big boy. But I may add something else. But for now, this is the centerpiece. This is the big boy. This is the weapons loadout. It's got missiles. It's got plasma weapon. It's got these big ass lasers up front. It's got machine guns. It's a weapons platform. It even got gas or smoke launchers. And one of the things I really like about the heavy weapons squad, which the ogres are part of, this is the first, like, I wanted to have more alien presence, or alien air quotes, sort, not just humies, or general humanoids, which most of them are general humanoids because of the bodies I used. I should probably find some more minis that are less stricken by humanoidness. But this is a Tau mini with one of the chest plates from from this, or one of the chest pieces from the Panzerjäger, I believe. And I used Kid Bash as best I could. She's a little short in comparison to some of the others, but hey, at least I got like a Tau style, like just general humanoid shape in here, and I'm pretty happy about that. I might try to get some more minis that are less stricken by humanoidness and see if I can find a way. Like, I've got some spare shoulder pads I might be able to use. Maybe some robots. That'd be cool. Also got, I got cat girls. And I love the cat girls. I actually gave them the green stuff tails and gave them little armor plates. So it looks like the armor was designed to take that into consideration. Not the best green stuff probably work ever, but I'm happy with it. Which brings us to the red team. These are the elites. These are the super. These guys are elites, are an elite squad, and these are the other elite squad. They're also typically the ones that are put into command of these different units. Like, if I separate units and I need like just a character to kind of flesh things out, or as an extra boost, or just to help me differentiate which one's the sergeant, these are the ones I usually use. And I really, really like them. I really like I love. This dude is a gene stealer. This is just a gene stealer. He's a or a soul snatcher, depending on the game. I call them gene snatchers. But yeah, he has been genetically modified by the alien hives, or the Tyranids, whatever you want to say. But he's like, nah, fam, I need that cash money. And so he's just a big bouncing baby berserker. They couldn't even make a helmet for his head, so they gave him a customized mask. And he's just stolen a bunch of Space Marine stuff. He's got a power hammer. He's got a big claw with spikes on it. He's very angry. He's a berserker. I almost gave him a tail, but I decided not to in the end. Then we've got this lady who's got big punchy fists. I had some power fists, and I wanted to try to make some machine gun gauntlets, and by golly, she turned out great. She's an Eldar. She's an elfy lady. and she's ready to just punch stuff. And I've also got, this is one of my favorite like paint jobs I've ever done. She's a calico. She's a calico kitty. It's a little hard to tell with the black part of the paint, but yeah, I'm so happy with the way she turned out. Because I tried to do tiger stripes on another mini and it didn't work out. But with her, I went with calico and I'm really happy. Also, totally not Duke Nukem is here. Because why wouldn't he be? The paint bleeded over from his sunglasses, though it made his face a little darker than I intended. But you know what? Motherfucking Duke Nukem. I do wish I had given him some better pants, but you know. What are you gonna do? I think I was gonna call him Blast Baron. It's Duke Nukem and Baron Explosion, I think is what we'll call him. Something like that. There's a cool cyborg guy back here. I've gone over 20 minutes. Who cares? Oh, look at this cool cyborg lady. I think, yeah, she's the lady. And she totally stole this sword. that is a Blood Angel sword that she has acquired. And she is using it. And I believe the head is from the Mechanicus. From the Sicarian? Not Sicarians. Is Sicarians? The General Soldier one. And I really like the way it looks. Very, very hard cyborg looks. This blue dude, who's just, or blue lady. I think that, yeah, there is like the only thing that I have to say about the Iron Core is that the bodies are at once. Let me get two of them. See if I can find two that, you know, like the bodies of the Eisenkarn stormtroopers and the Panzerjäger. The Panzerjäger are technically female bodies, and the Eisenkarn stormtroopers are the male bodies, theoretically. But they're general enough that it's hard to tell the difference, and I like that. I think that's good. Because in the end, it really doesn't matter. And a few of these are even kit bashed. But it is something I want to point out about the models. But I think that this lady is a strategist of some nature, or a psyker, like just generally from her species. And it's not, it is totally because she has a big head. I'm sorry. I'm only human. But, like, and this one is another, this one doesn't have a shoulder pad. And that's because the shoulder pad fell off and I couldn't find it. And I just never found something suitable to replace it. So that one just has a bare shoulder. I might fix that at some point. Or I may just leave it as it is. I don't know. I think that's everything. This is an over 22-minute video of me rambling. Oh, I do want to talk. I forgot about the snipers. They're the snipers. That's what they do. They snipe. They hide and they shoot things. And they all have these cool little blue sensors on their helmets, which I think are really cool. Also, my phone's getting warm. I had to put it in the fridge at this rate. That's a joke. I pushed a button. What do I do? Oh, crud. Just a second, guys. Well, it's asking me if I want to use a shortcut. I think I pushed a button wrong. There. Okay, I fixed it. Anyway, you probably had to look at her for a little bit. And she's part of a species that is kind of gaunt looking in the face. I imagine people call them ghouls, and that's probably not a respectable terminology, but they do remind me of ghouls from Fallout. So they're some kind of like space wraiths. They're every bit as human flesh and blood as anybody else, but they just have a really haunting appearance to a lot of other species. So probably gives them a hard time. But I love her. I think she's great. I love her hair. This is another one of those Stargrave mini heads, and there is one thing, like I had to customize a gun for her to make it into a sniper rifle, and I can't remember, but I think the Panzerjägers have sniper rifles. No, the Eisenkarn stormtroopers have sniper rifles, but the Panzerjägers don't. And by the time I realized that she was going to be a sniper, so I had to put a scope on there. But anyway, she's the leader of this little group. She doesn't have a name yet. She will someday. I really like how the heavy weapons teams turned out. Like, most of them just have heavy machine guns, But I got this one, this rocket launcher's from a Mantix Mini, the Dwarf Minis, and I was able to kind of get it customized on there. Has a little handheld sensor. I tried to get the sensor to attach to the bazooka, but it didn't work out, so it's just a handheld separately. And this one's got a plasma rifle, which I had to, if I'm not mistaken, I had to put this on from the cannon fodder minis that War Games Atlantic sells. So I had to customize, like I had to cut the hands off and replace them, and it took a little bit of work, but I got her with the bazooka. And last thing I want to talk about, because again my phone is getting warm, that's probably a sign I need to do something. These are all based with lunar dust from these guys, and I love this stuff. This stuff is great. It goes on smooth, buttery smooth, and then it dries really fast. It's really good. I think it's designed more for like tanks, for like tank-based war games, than it is for like. But there it could be. I mean, they're skulls, so it could be just for anything. It could be a general. Bought this from my friend local game store. It's absolutely great. So, yeah. All right. So yeah, this is gonna be the longest video I've ever made. But just having my phone has the memory for it. But yeah, the Iron Hawks, I'm so happy. And like I said, this is one I can actually put a pin in. I'm still gonna paint the rims because, as you can see, some of the paste got onto the sides, and instead of like leaving it alone and then chipping it off later, I tried to rub it off, and that just made it worse. But so yeah, that's one tip. If you do use this stuff, if you get some on the side of the base, just leave it alone until it dries and then chip it off, because if you try to rub it off, you're gonna get streaks. But small thing. And like I said, when is an army really done? Because I could still keep working on this thing forever, and I'm still going to add stuff to it over time. But for me anyway, this army is in a state of completion, and everything else is icing on the cake. And I know there are going to be people who will say, you haven't painted the rims black, it's not done yet. Yeah, well, I might paint them pink, or I might paint them with the colors of their armor. I don't know yet. I'm going to figure it out. But for now, they got bases, they got paint on them, they're pretty. This guy's got a slick back haircut, and he's got the side shave. That's how you know he's serious. I don't know what I'm saying. God bless, and have fun. Just have fun, you know? It's a fun hobby. It's supposed to be fun.